We got 10 a.m. We got everybody on. Good morning. All right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. What we're going to do is go through the rest of the ending test questions or quiz questions that Wayne and Jim mentioned that they went through last time we did the train the trainer. And then I'm going to show some additional material that we have for the class that you can use. I'm not sure if it's up in the LMS yet, because again, when the person who was coordinating this material moved to another position right when we were kind of finalizing everything. So I will track that down after the holidays, and whatever we need to get in there to finalize materials that you'd want to teach the class, we'll make sure that that's in there. So with that said, I'm going to share the old screen here. All right, does this look like what we're used to here?
You got it.
All right. All right, let's start off with a serious question here, just a quick survey, because it's always important to collect new data, as you know, and me being a scientist. So during the pandemic, how long is it safe to wear the same pair of pants? This is a question that's been discussed in many high-end scientific circles.
I'm going with E.
I think everybody should go with E.
You'd be surprised how many people have said that. Oh, Lord. All right. So this is something, we were talking about, well, what do we have for regulations and testing requirements? And, I gave mention to this a couple times during the week. Not much on the federal side, but it kind of depends where you are and who you're doing the work for. As we showed, the city and county of San Francisco has some very strict stuff. If you're going to be doing any demolition, then you have to pre-qualify the work you're doing before you're even allowed to start a demo project now concerning PCBs, making sure that there's nothing there that needs to be contained and addressed. This is from the Department of Air Force. It's their their safety, health, and environmental standard. It's got requirements in it. And if you're doing work for the Air Force, you've got to make sure that these are followed. They use the word shall in here, so you have to do it. Systems, devices that may contain PCBs must be sampled as soon as possible and analyzed for PCB concentrations. So again, they use this nice thing here. So systems and devices are anything that could contain oil. So like, ballast, things like that, transformers that might be on a base. That may contain. So they're not leaving it up to, some kind of, well, it's probably not likely that it's going to have it. It doesn't matter. If there's a chance that it may contain it, you must sample. Same with surfaces, soil, gravel, and other debris. So surfaces is anything that, painted walls, flooring, caulking, things like that. Again, that may contain PCBs, must be sampled for. It's a requirement that only EPA approved procedures are used. So even though EPA does not have a rule that tells you how you have to abate it, they do have guidance. And that's approved EPA guidance. So that you actually have to follow that if you're going to do work on an Air Force base. There must be an industrial hygienist connected to the project, and it goes into the qualifications of who that industrial hygienist is. And they're there to provide guidance and training for health concerns for workers that are doing that work pertaining to the PCBs. And also the IH is going to be there to monitor the project. So that's all good stuff. So if you happen to be working for a contractor that has a job on an Air Force base, this has to be followed. And I did do work for a while for the Air Force on their base in Massachusetts. And it is really strict. I mean, they follow everything to a T. When it was concerning asbestos, lead that they had there, other hazardous materials. Department of Navy. As far as the military branches, the Department of Navy has probably the best occupational health and safety branch. No offense to the other branches. It might have something to do with one of my mentors, came from the Navy. He was a captain, 2 doctorate degrees, a really great guy, humble guy, but knew his IH well. But they have a pretty robust industrial hygiene program there. And again, they've got requirements for PCB work. So if you're doing anything for the Department of Navy, and vessels have a lot of PCBs in them, must prepare sampling plan. Yeah.
Bernie, I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. So is the Navy, I know that the Air Force had safety, SHE.
Yep.
Is the Navy's also the same, or is it a different wording?
It is a different wording, but it's a really robust plan.
Okay.
Yeah. And by that, I mean, those plans cover everything occupational health and safety, just like we have the 1926 standard for construction, Nick. They have
Do
the
you happen to know, do you happen to know what it's called?
Do I happen to know what it's called? No, but when,
Okay.
I'll try to look quick.
No worries.
If we have a
No
break.
worries. Thanks.
Barney, a lot of the military bases work under the Corps of Engineers, which would be the 385 EM-1. And that's through the Corps. And then you also have the Bureau of Land Management, which does a lot of the bases on the West Coast. They use their own standard, which would be the Bureau directly.
But each of the
Have their own
departments has their own health and safety program. Yeah. So actually, Wayne or Jim, you want to look that up? I would just try Googling like Department of Navy, all-encompassing health and safety program or rule, something like that. Maybe we can find it quick. And again, I've used if you took my heat stress class, I use the Navy material quite a bit when I do heat stress case opinions. When there's, a case that might involve a worker getting harmed on site for a heat stress issue, even though there's not a federal, OSHA heat stress rule, there are a lot of other agencies, including federal agencies, that have heat stress rules, and the Navy is one of them. And they've done a ton of research with heat stress. So I was able to build some pretty strong cases in favor of worker justice around what the Navy had for their rules. Because again, one of the things that we can do, let's say if we don't have a federal standard to protect us on something, you can create a body of evidence, a proof, that shows, look, the Mine Safety and Health Administration does it this way, the Department of Navy does it this way, the state that you're going to be conducting work in does it this way. If you draft something out like that, you're basically going to back, the employer into a corner that says, hey, do you really want to behave outside of the way all these other groups are doing? And then if a worker gets hurt, how's that going to make you look? So there are ways that we can try to get some justice for workers beforehand, but you got to do the work beforehand. Also, under the Department of Navy, must prepare and submit a disposal plan. So this is everything, basically from start to finish. Sampling and testing plan, abatement plan, disposal plan. It has to include training workers before the work's done. And with the Navy, you must use a certified industrial hygienist. So they actually have to use somebody, that's credentialed like I am to go and oversee and conduct the work on the health and safety end. So that's good. Very good stuff on the Navy. Any comments or questions? So, again, depending upon what state you're in or what entity you're doing work for, we can do a search to see if something's governed there. But chances are, if you're doing something for one of the military branches, it's going to be pretty strict. So that's good news for workers. You'll be better protected. Unless apparently you're practicing at their local indoor firing range, which has about an 1/8 inch of lead dust coated on the ceiling joists and rafters. Anyway, so here's some things to remember just as we close out the course. There's a lot of this stuff out in the world right now. It's not going to be abated or cleaned up in our lifetime. Still present in the environment from historic uses, still present in current material that we use, as we've shown quite a few examples of. So get to that HASCOM standard. Make sure your members know how to, look up chemical hazard data on those safety data sheets, and they can track that down. Many agencies have regulations managing PCBs, but again, there's not a strict mode that shows, that any building owner or project owner has to test them. All right, so let's just work through these together. I think there's 15 of these knowledge check questions. I think it was the intent of Dan, because he put this quiz together to have this quiz available, to use if it's in the LMS. So the term PCBs refers to what?
Polychlorinated biphenyls.
Yep.
Biphenyls.
Polychlorinated biphenyls. Yep.
How come they don't call it by the name that they use?
What do you mean?
Chloral.
When it was in a pocket guide, Bernie.
Osha and NIOSH.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. So this is the actual chemical name, and if we remember, because I'm sure we've all used this quite a bit for teaching classes and stuff, and I always have one of these fairly close. In the back of the pocket guide, there's that synonyms and trade. Not like you're gonna be able to see here, but the synonyms and trade names appendix, which starts on.
I was looking on OSHA's site, and they say that latex is okay to use for PCBs.
No, yeah. So I don't know why they said that. If you want to email me that link, I'll look into it. But so each chemical clothing manufacturer has a list of chemical permeation data, their tables, and what it does is it ranks all the different material that they produce against each chemical. And it's going to give you a time and a contact type, either total immersion, like you're sticking the glove right in the material, or intermittent contact. So once in a while you might get something sprayed, or you might contact that glove hand to it. And it's going to look at how long it took for that chemical to either break down the clothing or transfer through the clothing, permeate through it to reach your skin, they're going to give a suggested ranking. So each producer of chemical protective clothing has that. And if you look at that, you'll see, depending upon what manufacturer it is, they're going to rate latex for, probably not recommended or either good for intermittent contact as well. And that slide that I had previously, it gave a couple examples of really good gloves to use and really not so good gloves to use. So if you want to go ahead, Matt, and send me that link, and I'll look at it, over the weekend and give you a response back with my thoughts next week. So back to what I was saying here on page 383 of the pocket guide is where the synonyms and trade names appendices starts. As you know, you might not be able to find something by a certain name that you're used to. It might be listed in that trade names appendix, and then you can find what page number you have to go to in the book.
It's listed.
PCBs have a bitter taste and a very pungent smell. True or false?
False. No taste or smell that they know about.
Exactly. So we can't leave it up to, oh yeah, it looks like PCBs, or I smell PCBs. The EPA estimates that cleaning PCBs from every contaminated building in the 50 states will cost about how much?
150 to 200 billion.
Yep. And if you've caught on already, the correct answers are bolded. So EPA banned the use and production of PCBs in what year?
79.
Yep. But again, realistically,
82.
what dates should we be concerned about as workers?
Up as far as maybe 82.
Yeah, mid-80s sometime. And again, if we're using something currently that could contain PCBs because of a plasticizer or something like that, right? We want to check that safety data sheet. 60% of PCBs were used for what?
Dielectric.
Yep, dielectric fluids. How come?
Because boiling point.
Yeah, good, because of boiling point. See, even though the answer is given to us, we can find a way to make this tool applicable for our needs. So yes, good work. Because of the boiling point, it's so high it accepts heat really well. Which of the following household products contain PCBs?
All the above.
All the above. Good times, right? We can have a PCB party at our house. Currently, testing caulk for PCBs is required by law.
False.
That's a false. But do we have some avenues to get in there and kind of make sure that we do get some testing done?
Yes.
Yeah, we do. It might be difficult, but we do. How can exposure to PCBs occur by typical routes?
That was another point. Your notes say that it's absorption because it passes through the skin
Yep.
very easily.
Yep. Yeah, but it's all these things actually are potentials for routes of exposure. If it gets up in the air, we can breathe it in. If it contaminates our hands, or our lips, we lick our lips, we eat food or something, we can swallow it, right? If it rubs onto our skin, it can be absorbed through our skin. And if you had a cut or something like that, you cut yourself during a job, and there were PCB contaminated materials that did the cut, it could get in through injection. So really, we've got all the routes of exposure to be concerned about for PCBs.
My point was just that the main source there that you say in your instructor notes there is absorption. Didn't realize that before.
Yeah, but so this question though is just how can
Oh,
exposure to PCBs occur? So this question is asking it a little more broadly, for the knowledge check at the end. So if we change the wording to say which one is the most of concern or something like that, then you can select a different answer. Which of the following agencies does not regulate the use and disposal of PCBs?
They don't broadcast it on the radio?
Yeah,
Airwaves.
wouldn't be a bad idea. How about that? IUPAT Health and Safety News Radio. I like that, Matt.
What?
We can have Matt Horner. Actually, it's not a bad idea to do like health and safety podcasts. You know what? You might have just created a project. This sounds like a good idea. I mean, they got podcasts about everything else. Why not about health and safety, right? In October 1976, Congress enacted the what?
Toxic Substance Control Act.
D, Toxic Substance Control Act.
D. Yep, the Toxic Substances Control Act. Good. A non-liquid PCB material must be what when removed from service for disposal?
C.
Yep. What's that?
C, manages
Yep.
bulk waste.
Good. When PCBs are taken out of service, they must be properly disposed of or get decontaminated within how long?
1 year.
1 year. That's it. I don't know. Remember if we covered that in the slides. That might have been a tricky thing from Dan. At greater than 50, equal to or greater than 50 ppm, the EPA requires materials to be properly disposed of as hazardous waste. True or false?
True.
True. Good. The US DOT, so the Department of Transportation, requires hazardous labeling and placarding for PCB material under which class?
Class 9.
Class 9. And this is the last one. The US DOT requires hazardous labeling and placarding for PCB materials under which,
Class 9.
which type of vacuum should be used to best control exposure?
High efficiency particulate arrestor accumulator.
HEPA, right, very good. All right, so that's the knowledge check, and that would be, the end of the course. Any comments or questions about that?
I didn't realize it was used roads either for a while there.
Yeah, and again, it might be because of contaminated fill. But like if you Google it in Texas, they're having an issue with contaminated roadways in Texas, and they got to figure out how to start to clean those up.
I got a comment on the dirt roads. I spent some time like half of my life living in Kansas, kind of in a little small country town. They spray oil down on dirt roads to keep the dust down when people are driving up and down the road. So that may be where the PCBs are in the oil.
Yeah, and a chip and seal.
Good point. Let's see. All right, I'm going to share my screen again here. Here we go. So this is a set of instructor's notes that we created for the class. You'll see we've got our model here again. Again, you know, open for autographs after the course, but no more than one person at a time. Discounted signatures. What'd you say, Wayne? $5?
Sure, we'll start there.
All right. So these are instructor's notes that we've got. Basically tells you about the goals of the course, you know, how the class is broken up. Course delivery and classroom management guidance, you know, how to allocate time, things like that. Materials that you're going to need. You know, we do have like an instructor set of notes as well. Basically, it's all the, you know, the slides printed out with the notes in front of you. So if you want to have a paper copy, that's what all this stuff is. Contains all the, you know, the activities and things like that. This here is my copy, which was, you know, is an unfinalized copy after I handed it off to the IFTI. So we'll go back, we'll make sure that, you know, what's there should be there and what we want. My view of tests, for like awareness level, I'm not a big fan of them because, you know, awareness classes are typically an hour to 8 hours. That's not a lot of time to cover, you know, new stuff, you know, depending upon what it is. I hate to eat up 15, you know, or 30 minutes with a quiz. I'd rather do an activity, right? So I'd rather not have a quiz in there at all. I'd rather just focus on activities and stuff. But you know, I don't know if we ever finalized our thoughts on that. And just some of the stuff that you're going to want to have, you know, laptop, projector, things like that. You know, easel paper. When we're back face to face, you know, I'm still adult ed old school. I like to have, you know, some easel paper, markers, you know, small group activity method. We should at least have a copy of the pocket guide, 2 per group. This ACJH TLV book, where did I put it? My wife must have came in and used the office and removed it on me. Blame her. Well, don't tell her I'm doing that. Anyway, the ACJH TLV book, 2 per group, and then a copy of the EPA 40 CFR 761, 2 per group. We've got assertion evidence slides. So one of the things that I've done is that I typically don't like using the regular PowerPoint method of having a title and then a bunch of text on the screen and bullets. We don't learn well that way. If you're going to use PowerPoint for courses, there is a method that's been tested. Some research has been done on it, and it showed better retention of material. It's called the assertion evidence method, where you've got an assertion in the title or a question, and then you back that up with a photo or a chart or a graph or something like that. And we found that that works, you know, much better. So I've got a little bit about that method and where you can go to find more information in the instructor's guide. I actually have a class that I teach on how to develop slides like that. And so there's that piece of material that we've got there. Another thing we got I can show in the course. Is just this. This is the, you know, the instructor's guide. So it's just really basic. It's got all the notes in it so that you can have this printed out if you wanted to right in front of you. And then, you know, I guess the handout for the students, participants are going to be just a set of slides and with the activities attached with those 4 activities. So that's about all I got. Any comments or questions about the course? Any feedback? I think this is the second time we've run it.
Yeah, I got something. just wanted to make sure everyone was aware that NIOSH has a mobile version of the Pocket Guide. I'm sure everybody knows, but just want to bring it up. A lot of times I'll have our guys put it on their phone, so they have it. So when they're out on the job site, they can look anything up right from their phone.
Yeah, good point, Justin. And Jim mentioned the app Wiser. Has anybody tried that? That's a really good one, as well. And that's updated. It's a great resource. It's been used now for about a decade. Got a lot of good applicability out in the field. So thanks, Justin. Anything else?
Other thing I found out was in the process of making paint, not only did they put PCBs in the paint, but in the process of making it, they created some, not even knowing it.
There's another app you guys could add to your phones or have maybe apprentices especially add to it. I give it to mine all the time. EERG 2020. So you have everything from mix, unidentified cargo to explosives to flammable materials to gases. It's a pretty good guide as well. Check it out if you get a chance. EERG 2020.
Yep. So they finally came up with a new update. The orange book, is it still
It's
orange?
still orange.
Or yellow,
Well,
orange?
I just have the app. I keep the app on my phone, but yeah, it's still orange, yellow.
Okay. Yeah, oh, there you go. All right. I have to see if they have a hard copy. So I don't know, I'm still, I guess, still old school, but I just want everybody to know I've got a very impressive Xbox gamer score. I'm like 40 something thousand. I'm pretty damn good on the Xbox, but aside from that, I love books. I like having, paper-based resource materials to still look up. I think apps and everything are great to use, but at least, I don't know, I like when we can get students at least away from some of this stuff if we're in class, and one of the things that I like to do with the apps are do activities with them so that they can be familiar with and how to use them. But so Nuno, I'm going to try to find that damn book and get a copy of it. That book was great, by the way, doing road trips when the kids were young. I'd give them each a copy and say, all right, we're going to play hazmat.
You know
bingo.
what, Bernie? I mean, most of our kids are apprentices, and I think most of the younger generations going this way. They spend half their life, if not 2/3 of their life, looking at their phone. So might as well use that time and put it to good use. You stick a phone in front of them, and you put a book in front of them. Next thing you know, that they're sneaking their phone underneath the desk, looking at other stuff. So let's make them bring their phone out and use it for what we need them to use.
I'm rebelling against technology, Nuno. I'm rebelling.
Yeah, I make our apprentices get out their phones every now and then too, especially with Osha, make them aware that all that stuff's at their fingertips.
Yep.
They always have it on them. And like Nuno said, I like to make them get it out every now and then and use it for a good purpose.
Yep. There was a push by the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences back in 1999. They came up with a supplemental grant, like what the CPWR has the big NIHS HAZWOPER grant, right? And it was for advanced training technologies. So what we understood as adult educators was that technology is seeping into the classroom. So why don't we grab it, as union leaders and union educators, and try to figure out how to best use this stuff in our classes, try to make small group activities with it, etc., make it relevant, right? And I think that I've seen a number of union programs that have used advanced training technologies pretty well. Everything from like virtual reality stuff, and I think actually the IUPAT had something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so thanks, folks. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, one more question. In the NIOSH Pocket Guide, it's got just 2 of the chlorodiphenyl compounds.
Yep.
Do they all have that much chlorine, and the rest of the conjugant is?
Conjugars. Yeah, so the 209 conjugars, right? Those 2 that we see in here are the only ones that have a PEL out of the 209. And that's unfortunate because, you know, there's more than that. But these are the ones that were most prevalent in OSHA's feeling to worker exposure. However, we learned that, you know, all those 209 conjugars are all mixtures of different levels. So those at least have to be, you know, 42 and was it 54% and 42% chlorine atoms, right? But there's other ones out there, you know, that's the problem. So unfortunately, it's like a bare bones, you know, minimum rule that we can use, right? Yep, good question. Very good question.
I got something.
Yeah.
I got something. As far as it has to do with the food, it was between salmon, wild caught salmon, and farm raised salmon. They said definitely it's because of the food, the sardines, and everything that they ground up and give to the farm raised salmon, that their levels are it's right up to like 8 times more higher than the levels of wild caught salmon. And you know, it's so Washington State, if you're still interested in farm caught salmon, Washington State highly regulates everything those salmon are fed. So they're pretty safe. If you eat any salmon from there, it's pretty safe, you know, which is farmed. It's important to know where it comes from. Washington State, the country of Chile, it's usually low from there. But basically anything like up north, Iceland, Norway, really, really high, really high. And there's, you know, a lot of these big farms are fighting back against these studies because, you know, they're saying it's unfair. But, you know, I just did a little research just within, you know, within all the food, and it's you just got to do your research before you eat something. You know,
Yeah,
I eat so much.
And now you got me
You know,
thinking.
I'm damn near a pescatarian now. So
Now you
it
got me
just,
thinking, Matt.
you know, it's startling. I'm sure I got a lot built up in my body.
Well,
But,
now I got to think, because I have
that's about it.
I take Norwegian cod liver oil. So now I got to go and check to make sure if there's any studies done on that.
Yeah.
But you know, this is a good activity that you can do with students, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to do something a little bit different in class, add something, say, hey, you know, what's one of the foods you eat? And let's look up to see if we can find any studies on what might be in it for PCBs. So, Wayne, anything you want to close the class out with?
I don't have anything.
Oh, you got that godlike
Hey,
presence
it's
again,
possible.
Jim. Wayne, how about you, man?
You're muted, Wayne.
The Navy does have a guide for the PCBs called NAV Fact. And it's 298 pages on determining the sources of PCBs.
All right, thanks, Wayne. I did see that text come through, but I was hoping you would bring it up. So thank you. Thanks, buddy. Monisha, you got anything you want to say? Thank you for all your help.
No problem. I just want to make sure that everyone takes the LMS survey. If you haven't yet, please do so by today. And then I'll run the report for you.
You said by what today?
By the end of today, if you can.
How do I get to it?
It's within the LMS, within your.
Yeah, I tried to do it, and when you complete it, it's not saying that I completed it. And when I go back in to resume it, it takes me back to the end, but it's not completing it for some reason.
Not completing the course?
The survey.
Of the survey. Okay, I'll look into it because I haven't completed you guys yet for the session. So once I complete the session and you complete the survey, the whole course will be completed.
Okay, I was gonna say, because I got on there and tried to do it, and I did the whole thing, and I got to the end, and it wouldn't say that I did it, so.
Okay, if you could just send me your, Howard Baker. Okay, I'll look into your account for you.
Yep.
All right, folks, any comments, questions you want to leave off with? All right, well, everybody, stay safe. Have a good Christmas holiday season, all that good stuff. And if anybody wants to, teach one of the centers, reach out, let us know. provide you some help if need be, and looking forward to seeing everybody again in the future.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.